We all have 5:30 and after, so let's go ahead and call our meeting to order. And we're going to be led this afternoon in prayer by Commissioner Cottle, and followed by that will be Commissioner Holland leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. I'm going to keep this very short. Heavenly Father, I would like to pray for worldwide peace. We need your guidance on that. We need your blessing for that. In your name we pray. Amen.
Colin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Oh, keep to the pin to the city? Thank you, Commissioner Holland. As we say the Pledge of Allegiance in today's meeting, I want to call your attention to that big, important, all-important holiday that's celebrated tomorrow. Tomorrow is National Flag Day. So as you see our flags flying tomorrow, remember tomorrow is National Flag Day. So commissioners, I asked a question about our agenda, just an item where we try to approve the agenda, or if there's any additions or deletions or amendments, we take those into consideration as well. So is there any additions or approvals or deletions to the agenda? Hearing none, we will accept the agenda as being presented, and it has 20-plus items on it tonight. So we'll try to be very conscious about our time tonight. And so next on the agenda is that we hear the public at this time, and we hear the public that speaks to us about items that are on tonight's agenda only. And if you desire to speak, you can have 3 minutes or less and address us as you so desire. Anyone want to speak to us on items on the agenda for tonight? Mr. Siri?
Rick Sayers, resident of Danville. Agenda item 14, the aquatics facility. Just want to make some comments, some things that I'm pretty sure you all know up here on the commission. But I'm making these comments also for the ears of the public. I'll give a little history on some of the decisions you have to make. Probably 6 to 8 years ago, Jeff Thornton was a member of the Parks and Rec Board, and the aquatic facility was being kicked around on where it should go. His idea was for the city and county to buy the fairgrounds and move the facility over there. I'm talking the whole facility, Bunny Davis, build an aquatic center, ease of access from the bypass, ease of access from Millennium Park. So the city did act on that, and that then puts that as one of your decisions you got to make. The other one was the master park study. Public and private partnerships are good things. So looking at the wellness center fulfills that too, and so that seems like a good thing to do as well. So that makes a difficult decision for you folks because there's been some hard work already put into it. The Parks and Rec Board, who mainly sets policy and guidance for programming, and in this case probably has made a recommendation on where the facility should be, I hope will be taken into consideration. But if you don't make the decision the way they want it to go, I hope that you'll clearly explain why, because they may not have all the information that you have. So in closing, and again, this is for the public ears more so than yours, the good news is we're talking aquatics facility seriously. Thank you.
Brother Rick, before you leave, would you publicly state what the Parks and Rec Board decision was?
The what?
what positions the Parks and Rec Board has taken on this issue?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not on that board.
Oh, okay.
I only heard that, I go to the meetings. I knew they were going to have a special call meeting and talk about it, but I was out of town. So you have to refer to one of the board members. Sorry.
No, that's okay. No, thank you, sir. Anyone else hear the public on agenda items at this time? If not, we'll move on. The next item on our agenda is to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Chair would entertain a motion.
I move for approval of the minutes of May 23rd, May 26th, and June 2nd budget meetings as presented.
Second.
Any questions, comments, additions, or deletions? If not, Chair would call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is a proclamation in recognition of Juneteenth, 2022. And I'm going to read that proclamation. Whew. Whereas Juneteenth, also known as Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, Liberation Day, and Emancipation Day, is a holiday celebrating the emancipation of those who have been enslaved in these United States. And whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January the 1st, 1863, declaring the slaves in Confederate territory free, paving the way for the passing of the 13th Amendment, which formally abolished slavery in the United States of America. And whereas 2 years later, on June the 19th, 1865, General Gordon Granger announced that slaves in Texas were free by order of the President of the United States. And whereas freedmen in Texas organized the first of what became the annual celebration of Jubilee Day on June the 19th, and whereas June the 19th had a special meaning to African Americans, and it's called Juneteenth, combining the words of June and 19th, and has been celebrated by the African American community for over 150 years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and the Board of Commissioners of the City of Danville do hereby proclaim June the 19th, 2022 as Juneteenth in the City of Danville, and urge all citizens to observe Juneteenth as an opportunity to reflect, to rejoice, and to plan for a brighter future as we continue to address racial injustices in our society today.
I move that we accept the proclamation into the record.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. No questions necessary, so all those in favor of the Juneteenth proclamation, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. The next item is Resolution 2022-06-1301, Boyle County Health Department contract renewal. Mr. Randy Boyd, you want to address the commission?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Yeah, right here we have for you the proposed renewal contract with the Health Department for the fiscal year '23. No service fee changes from last year's contract. Same number of services, which includes our biometric screenings, hepatitis B and A shot services, and then also included in the contract is our services for administering flu shots. Those are the services that we have in place with the health department. Although the flu shots, they administer those, but those are billed through our health insurance as a preventative service. And so staff's just recommending renewing the contract for fiscal year '23.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. Is there a motion at this time?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2022-06-1301.
Thank you, ma'am.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Did you mention the price, Randy?
Yeah, actually, it depends on how many employees actually participate in the biometrics. I think last year, we had, I think, roughly 40% of our staff participated. We'd like to see a higher participation, but at full participation, it would be roughly, I think, $5,000 for the biometrics, which we did build that into the contractual services in the budget proposal, so it's already been factored in since there's no price change from the last year's budget.
Thank you.
Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Resolution passes. Item number 4, KLC Workers' Comp Trust Agreement. Ms. Ashley Rader.
This is our agreement to renew our workers' comp insurance policy through KLC for the year. Randy might have more to add to it, but
Okay.
I do. Just a little bit of history on our workers' compensation. We've talked about safety and some of the safety programs we're working on is, last year, I think our comp plan policy was in a range of 220,000. Originally, KLC had quoted us 245,000. We went back to them and negotiated with them to get it down to 232 for fiscal year 23. Part of that negotiation was some of the safety initiatives that we're taking to minimize our risk as well as our loss run. One thing just to note on here is our loss runs have gone down, meaning the number of accidents, lost time days, but also our payroll dollars have gone up, which is a driving force behind some of the increase because you're billed based on classification codes and number of payroll dollars in those codes. So where we've added staff and made salary adjustments, that's been the driving force behind the increase, not necessarily our safety performance, but we hope to keep that relatively flat because our loss run numbers are starting to decline.
Thank you. Chair is ready for a motion.
I'll move to approve Resolution 2022-06-1302.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 03, KLC General Insurance Trust Agreement. Ms. Ashley, you have that one as well.
this is our general liability and property trust agreement to renew our insurance policy with KLC. Our total premiums for liability and property are $502,859.25.
Okay. Any questions, comments? If not, Chair will entertain a motion.
I move for approval of Resolution 2022-06-1303.
Second.
Okay.
Is that compare favorably with last year? How does it?
It's up just a little from last year. We did add some of our new leased vehicles through Enterprise, so with the price of vehicles, it's caused the premiums to go up just a little.
Understand. Thank you.
Do we have a motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Item number 6 is Resolution 1304, IT surplus. Ms. Ashley, that's you again.
These are just some items that IT is wanting to surplus through Gov Deals. We're just asking you all to approve the list as presented.
Okay. Any questions or comments about any items on the list? If not, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the IT surplus list.
I'm going to approve Resolution 2022-06-1304.
Second.
Wow. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Resolution carries. Okay. Next item is first reading of ordinance 1993. Ms. Lee Compton, that's your item.
So we are just recommending that the fees that we charge for the sale of alcoholic beverages remain the same for this next fiscal year.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Okay, so, yeah, that's what I wondered. They're the same.
They
I
are
thought
the
they were
same.
going up.
It is recommended we keep them the same for this this upcoming year, yes.
Do you need to
As
read it
far as
first,
I'm-
Ashley, or go ahead?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, as far as I'm aware, when I look back, they've never changed.
Right.
So in the future, that may be something we'll look at, but currently, there's no recommended change.
Yeah, and Ashley does need to read it. Yes.
This is the first reading of ordinance number 1993, an ordinance establishing the regulatory license fee for the sale of alcoholic beverages in the city of Danville for fiscal year 2022 through 2023.
Okay. Then the chair will entertain a motion.
I move for approval of the first reading of ordinance number 1993.
Second.
Call for the question, and it's a roll call vote.
Commissioner Caudle,
Yes.
Commissioner Holland,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Atkins.
Yes, ma'am. Next item is another first reading of ordinance 1994, and Mr. Coffey, your item.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioners, you have in front of you the proposed budget ordinance, number 1994, as you said. The budget ordinance considers the appropriations of all the city's funds. The total amount of the appropriations that are being presented to you is $96,315,310, which is an increase from the last year's appropriation from about $72,856,608. Now, what you're seeing is as we talked a lot about during the budget meetings, is the actual operations of the city is about $20 million for the general fund, about 11 to 15 for the utility, depending on final operational expenses, et cetera. And so combined, you have a lot of capital that's involved that has been on the books that is carrying over. For example, the investment in parks development, we've not broken ground on anything. That number rolls into this budget, which makes the budget swell, frankly. And so what the proposal is now is we are presenting you with this first reading, which mirrors the last draft presentation we made to the commission, with the exception of two things. One, we have added $45,000 to the general fund appropriations to account for an investment with the county on litter abatement. We hope to have that agreement finalized for the next commission meeting agenda. We wanted the county, since it's the solid waste coordinator is a county designated position, a county employee, we wanted the county to have the opportunity to review the draft agreement first. They'll do that, as our understanding, tomorrow, and so we'll follow that up with you at the next regular meeting. But that expense of that partnership, which reestablishes the partnership that had always been for many, many years. The city and county joint own the Alum Springs facility, for example, together. They do, they observe the maintenance at that location, for example, and the program is designed so they provide litter abatement on city streets as at certain requests, not unlimited, but with certain conditions. They will help us with our litter abatement, and that's the relationship that we've always had. So the purpose of the $45,000 is to reestablish that agreement that was vacated in, I want to say, 2020. The other thing that is a little bit different, we had a minor adjustment to the capital and the utility fund. We debated, and when we were doing our last draft budget, we didn't think the phase one of the wastewater plant wouldn't finish in time to begin removal of sludge from the lagoon. Marshall has since said that he felt like they would get to some of that this year and asked us to go ahead, instead of proposing that capital in 2023, summer of 2023, go ahead and propose it in this budget. So we've increased the capital for the utility fund by the $250,000 number. And so those are the two differences between, that are the two primary differences between the last draft budget that you were presented with and this budget presentation you have in front of you. Now, once you have your first reading, if you're so inclined, we will take this and complete our budget letter. We sent to you a quick draft of it. We want to develop that farther and be able to communicate with more detail some of the finite details of the capital program and the things that are causing the investment. So we'll spend more time doing that. We will have also at the next meeting, the position allocation. Recall, we've added two firefighters, we added a police officer, we adjusted compensation in the 911. We added the community liaison position. We've added an administrative assistant for Josh, among other minor changes. So we will have the authorized position table for you. We will also present to you the summary and evaluation of our debt profile with that first reading along. So we'll start to build the budget book and then have that completed after the second reading then and for publication. So staff is presenting you the proposed budget of, again, with this budget ordinance, and we'll ask Ashley to read it, of $96,315,310, consistent with the last draft presentation we made with those minor changes.
Madam Clerk, you want to read the ordinance for us?
This is the first reading of ordinance number 1994, an ordinance of the City of Danville, Kentucky, adopting the annual budget for the fiscal year 7/1/2022 through 6/30/2023 by appropriating funds for the operation of city government.
Thank you, ma'am. Chair will entertain a motion.
I move for approval of first reading of ordinance 1994.
I'm a second.
Any other questions or comments?
Earl, what did we end up doing on the community agencies? Did we take the staff's recommendation or how did?
That is, the last number we presented was about 144,000. I
Okay.
can't remember
On
off the top of my
44,
head.
8
but
is the
yeah,
one,
it increased
okay.
by $8,000
Okay.
from last year's investment.
Okay.
Other questions or comments?
Well, I just appreciate the city manager for explaining to the public about the carried over capital and how that makes the budget appear to be larger than it is. And also, I appreciate the city being willing to listen to the citizens about reinvesting in litter abatement after we saw what happened when we pulled out. So, thank you.
Thank you. And we will do a more developed presentation of the detail that's designed for public consumption, probably. Rather than using our jargon and line items, we'll be a little bit more
What was that? What did he say?
narrative in some of the descriptions. And so
Yeah.
hopefully that will help communicate and certainly help people understand their questions. And then if they do have questions, they're certainly welcome to reach out, and we'll try to facilitate answers.
Okay, I like that idea, more user-friendly to the public.
There was, a while back, and it's been budget time, so I didn't expect anything and don't until later on, but I would like to see how our operating expenses have changed through the years with no capital and just strictly operational stuff. 'Cause I'm guessing it hadn't gone up a whole lot, particularly if you adjust it for inflation. But
Yeah, we did that, a table similar to that last year. We'll try to do that again.
Okay.
This year for the next meeting. Yeah.
there's no hurry. I just.
Ready for the roll call vote?
Commissioner Holland,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Atkins,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Cottle.
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 9, city manager report. Seems like we just had a report from the city manager, but Earl, you want to give us a report?
Well, we do have a newsletter done. We're sending that out and published that. But honestly, the budget's been our focus over the last little bit.
Yes,
And
sir.
we appreciate Lee's participation and support of that. She's been a big help to us, and we want to acknowledge her insight and thoughtfulness in some of her feedback that she gave us. That's all I have. We had a great brass band festival.
Yes.
I felt like that was wonderful, and I didn't get to participate personally to the extent I normally would because of the state softball tournament. I got to participate there, but other than that, it's good to see the hot sun out, and we enjoy that.
I appreciate the job that Ashley and whoever else helped you, Ashley, that night. That was nice, very nice.
Yes.
And I also appreciate the newsletter, which I understand you're the primary putter together of.
Not by myself.
Well, no.
I won't take all the credit for that.
Or Blaine. I thought it was good. The newsletter was good.
I was going to try to put into the record how long the city manager's report was tonight.
We do have, one of the things I should note is, I knew there was something I wanted to mention.
You pulled a string now, he's gonna go on.
Try to compliment.
Gave me enough time to think. We are trying to schedule and develop an agenda for the follow-up Economic Development Symposium that we did last year. So we're trying to schedule that in August. We've met with the CenterWorks folks, and we think that that location probably is a good fit. And so we hopefully will have a report on that and perhaps even an agenda at the next commission meeting. But I don't know, we'll for sure have a date, but I don't know that we'll have a confirmed agenda yet. But we will attempt to do that.
That'd be good.
Very good.
All right.
Very nice.
Thank you, sir. As we move along, this is the next Hear the Public section of our agenda. And this is where the public can recognize themselves, come forward to the mic, and have 3 minutes or less to present and discuss, to present an item to us, not on tonight's agenda. So is there anyone, Ms. Patton, want to come forward, please? Rebecca Patton?
Hello. First, I'd like to thank everyone for everything that you do for the city. My name is Rebecca Parker, Patton Parker, and I had a question, something that I'd seen posted by the city. Well, first, I'd like to introduce myself. Also, I had recently applied for a position with the city for a community liaison, and so I don't know if it's appropriate to announce that, but I did want to share that with you all as an introductory piece. But also with the city of Danville, I noticed that you all had recently posted something about the stoplight in between Walnut and Second Street, and potentially changing it to a stop sign instead of a stoplight. And I know that is a very pedestrian-heavy area, and someone that has, I grew up off of Second Street, and so I think it would be very important to, I would implore the city to please consider just changing or repairing that stoplight there and having it remaining a stoplight rather than a stop sign. I know that there was a lot of people on both sides of the aisle that thought differently about being in favor of the stop sign and being in favor of keeping it a stoplight, but I would just implore the city to make those repairs, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anyone else here, the public, for items not on our agenda tonight? She's a first timer. She's like, oh, okay, good job. Anyone else? Thank you, ma'am. All right, let's move on then. Commissioner comments? Hearing none, we go, oh, sorry.
No, I just, that looks like an academic team over there, so many people on it. And then there's Stephen, which kills it, so I think I've mentioned everything I was going to mention, brass band wise, newsletter wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Thursday night is the free concert and hot dogs at Henson Park. Does anybody else know? I'm pretty sure. The Arts Commission page says this Thursday, and it's free. Just bring a chair. Right down the road, 6 o'clock Thursday. So share with everybody. It was good to thank Earl for, I guess, Ashley for completing the newsletter, helping everybody know what's going on. And I appreciate everybody. I was just going to say, I appreciate everybody that also puts things out online, on Facebook, and now the newsletter. As someone that's done a lot of advertising, it takes 3 times to see a message, to even see it. And it takes 6 times or 7 times to actually fully absorb that message. So I appreciate that getting out. I think if we can keep getting things out over and over, like the city app, over and over and over again, it might seem repetitive, but just keep that 7-time rule up here, and hopefully the public will hear lots eventually. So thank you for the newsletter. Last thing, were you going to share the Juneteenth events?
Oh, you go right ahead, ma'am.
I'll go right ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, there's some in Stanford. Most of them are going to be going on the 18th. A lot of times we partner with Harrodsburg. I don't know who's been up to West Lane Park. It was wonderful last year. So July 17th, 18th. If you go to juneteenthkentucky.com, there's a full list of events. July 18th is going to be awesome. There's food trucks, there's great speakers, there's bands, there's things for the kids. A good time of learning. I know our family enjoyed it a lot, and we learned a lot about history and learned a lot from the speakers. So I'd encourage everybody to check it out one of those days in Harrodsburg, or also in Stanford on the 16th at the depot. Oh, at Campbellsville? Okay.
And
That's all.
Campbellsville, say Campbellsville. Well, good job. Boyle County Fair starts tonight, tomorrow night, our county fair. And then our Commissioner Holland, I think, was referring to what I call Third Thursday celebrations being sponsored downtown. Then I had mentioned earlier about Flag Day being a very important celebration in the history of our country. Any other comments from the commissioners? If not, we'll move right along to item number 10, the payment of the bills. Chair will entertain a motion for bill list dated June the 14th, 2022.
I move for approval of the bill list as presented at $1,449,511.49.
Second.
Thank you all. Any questions or comments about the bill list? No? Right. Well, again, thanks staff for the excellent way in which they've been presenting the list to us. We take the time to read it, it's easy to understand, so I want to say thanks. So, Chair call for the question. All those in favor of paying the June bills, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Bills are going to be paid. Okay. Item number 11 is HDR presentation. Mr. Rich Smith. I want to call you Rick Smith.
Before we get started with Rich, I just wanted to preface, wanted to bring him in and discuss the booster pump station and where we are right now and some delays that we've seen in the project, but also how that same market instability relates to other projects that HDR is working with, not only here in Kentucky, but in other states too. So I just wanted to kind of let him come in and give you that expert analysis on market overall and how that translates into this project. So.
All right, thank you. This is going to be a brief presentation. I know we got a full agenda tonight, so just wanted to give you an update on the Perryville Road Elevated Tank and Booster Pump Station project. The overall scope of the project is a 750,000 gallon elevated storage tank, 150 feet tall. So the overflow elevation is 1140, which matches two other tanks that you have in the system, including the Tower Hill tank on the bypass, which is the largest one in the system. Also includes a booster pump station, which will have 3 pumps in it. Each are 500 gallons per minute. And the function of that pump station is mostly to fill that tank. However, if the tank is down for maintenance or painting or whatever, that pump station can pressurize the system by itself. So it's designed to be able to do that. It's inside a new building, which is concrete block with a brick exterior. And we'll have an emergency diesel generator out there eventually when it finally gets here. A valve vault. I want to say that this project is really set up for maximum flexibility for the city to operate this tank and the pump station. So it can send water either direction. It can send water west towards Perryville. It can send water back towards town if the demand is there in town. There's just about 800 feet of 12-inch water main. That's just the area from Tuggle Road to the tank. So this is really part of the overall project of extending a new 12-inch water main all the way from the bypass to Perryville. So 2 phases of that water main project have already been built, and we're designing phase 3 right now. But this is the tank and pump station is a standalone project. Site work, access road, there'll be a fence around the exterior of the site. And finally, demolition of the standpipe in Perryville is part of this project. That's a 100,000-gallon standpipe on the east side of Perryville, which is really obsolete, and it's being replaced with this tank. So some of the drivers for this project, it reinforces the distribution system really on the whole west side of Danville, all the way to Perryville and beyond. So it's going to benefit really the entire system, but especially the west side of town. It'll improve system reliability. Right now, from Danville to Perryville, there's one 8-inch asbestos cement water line, which is an obsolete material. So with this second water main, you have much better reliability. If there's a main break or a problem, people won't be out of water. There's interconnects along the route. So it'll greatly improve the whole system reliability. Replaces outdated infrastructure in the Perryville standpipe. It's adding storage for high demand periods, such as fire that could occur anywhere. And it will allow for increased wholesale water sales. Springfield Water and Sewer Commission is #1 on that list, but also Parksville Water District, North Mercer Water District, and potentially more others in the future.
How was that slide?
It's a little bit dated, yeah. Yeah. So the project timeline, the city originally got funding for this project in 2020 through the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. The project was bid in October of 2020. Montgomery Brothers Construction was the low bidder, which is a local contractor, $2.896 million. Construction started in January of 21. It was originally a 1-year contract. However, it's been extended. The tank foundation was completed back in May of 21, which is drilled concrete shafts to bedrock. The tank construction was completed in September of 21 by Caldwell Tanks as a subcontractor. It was painted in October of last year. And then that's when, once the painting was done, that's really when the remainder of the project really got going with the pump station and all the site work. They wanted to let the tank get done first. So that really got going in November, and that's been ongoing ever since. Some of the project changes and time impacts that we've seen. We've had 3 change orders. The first was to add the city logos to the tank. The second was to increase the height of the pump station building by 1 foot 4 inches. And then the third was to add a pressure reducing valve vault in Perryville. And if you look at the picture, the lower picture there, that manhole in the front, that's an existing, there's an old pressure reducing valve there. And then in the back, there's a pump station and control valves. So this is where really the city water system and Perryville system meet. And when that new tank is put into service and the standpipe is removed from service, you need that pressure reducing valve to keep from over pressurizing downtown Perryville. And that existing pressure reducing valve doesn't function. So therefore we had to add the vault, new valve and vault to this project to make sure that that tank can be demoed and this new tank can be filled without overpressurizing the system in Perryville. So it kind of got moved up because the existing valve doesn't function. And then the number 4 proposed, which is on the agenda for tonight, is just a time extension of 90 days. So it's a no-cost change order. So right now, the current contract value is just over $3 million. There's been a number of mostly COVID-related supply chain labor issues that I'm sure everyone's heard about plenty by now. The biggest ones, emergency generator. They said right out of the box it would take 50-plus weeks to get the generator. It's been longer than that. In fact, we just found out today it was going to be delayed even further. It was supposed to be here by the end of May, and now they're saying middle of July. So that's just one of those things that's been, the supply cannot keep up with demand. And electrical equipment is the other big item. And as Marshall said, we've seen this on pretty much all of our projects. I'm working on several right now that are under construction, and every single one of them is behind schedule. And in most cases, the contractor is waiting on something. Sometimes he's waiting on multiple things. But the supply chain issues with electrical equipment, motor control center, you can't finish the work in the pump station building without this equipment. And we're still waiting for it to show up. It's supposed to be here by the end of June. We're keeping our fingers crossed on that. So with the exception of the generator, hopefully everything the contractor needs to finish the job, hopefully is here by the end of June. So what's left to be done? The generator needs to be installed and started up. The motor control center, the remaining electrical equipment needs to be installed in the building. And then the pump station will be started up. The tank, which is empty right now, will be disinfected and filled. The PRV vault will be installed in Perryville. The standpipe will be demolished. And finally, then the site cleanup and fencing will be put in. And so we estimate we've got about 3 months to go. Expect to be complete by mid to end of September 2022. So as I said, the original contract duration was 1 year. It's been extended. As of today, it's extended through June 22nd. We need to extend it another 3 months through mid-September. And hopefully that'll be enough. We'll keep our fingers crossed on that. Does anyone have any questions?
Any issues other than supply? I mean, that's pretty much it.
That's the biggest issue as far as that's impacted the time.
One thing to keep in-
Any compliments on a water tower? People like the
Yeah.
logo up there.
Yeah.
And one thing, kind of to Rich's point too, is, it just takes the delay of a few components like, critical electrical components like that just, pushes the pause button on furthering out that particular line item to finish that portion of the project. So there's other things you can do intermittently. Obviously you can do site work and stuff in the background, but that becomes, your primary schedule driver. As soon as you find out that there's a delay, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, then it just sets out throughout the rest of the project. So that's kind of what we've seen. Well, it is what we've seen on this project, but we, to Rich's point too, is he's seen it on other projects.
Other comments, questions?
No, I was surprised to see 50-week waits. So that just was surprising. So thank you for showing the kind of challenges you folks are facing.
Yeah, and it's been somewhat unpredictable. On one project it's one thing, another project it's something else. It's just can't take anything for granted today.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Trish.
That's very good.
So Marshall, the next item is
Thanks, Rich.
sort of related. You want to take the floor on that one?
Yes, sir, thank you. This agenda item is regarding, just like what Rich spoke on, extending this current contract from June to September 20th, 2022, due to just delays in shipment of electrical equipment and the emergency generator. This is a no cost.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve Resolution 2022061305.
Second.
Questions or comments? Chair will call for the question. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Marcia, the next item is yours as well.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. This agenda item is in relation to the Cape Drive, Corporate Drive water line project that now physically is complete. We just have some cleanup work to finish out. But this is regarding some additional work needed to alter the water line alignment when it was originally installed from one side of the road to the other there along Meggitt Aircraft Braking property. This was a change order of $11,473 for a new total of $205,973 with Hubert Construction.
Okay. Any questions? Comments? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
I move for approval of Resolution 2022-061306.
Second?
Thank you all. Any other comments? If not, all those in favor of this resolution, say aye. Those opposed? Thank you. Okay, we come to the Josh Morgan hour, our section of the agenda.
Hour?
It's better not take an hour.
Brother Josh.
We'll get through this pretty quick. So
What's that? Say that again.
we'll get through this pretty quick.
All right, got you on record.
First item is the aquatics facility discussion. Wanted to bring back to you all the results of our meeting with the Parks Committee about the location. We met last week that we met, and they took a vote on, it's kind of a more of a polled each member what their thoughts were about the potential partnership with the Wellness Center or the fairgrounds location. And it was 4-2. There were 6 members there. It was a 4-2 vote for exploring the partnership with the Wellness Center, with the caveat of they'd like to see more details about how that agreement will be spelled out before they fully commit, which I think is the kind of the position we're in now. We have to meet with the hospital and develop a memorandum of agreement, which I think you also have in your packet a memo from Earl that kind of spells out where we're at in the process. That kind of points that out. That's really the next step would be to develop a pro forma, develop that MOA, and then come back to the committee and come back to you all as well for a more developed response. You also have in your packet some case studies from our consultant of partnerships other communities have done on aquatic facilities.
Mm-hmm.
I asked them to just prepare something for you all to look at just to maybe increase your comfort level with the partnership on the project. So that's where we're at. I don't know, Earl, if you wanted to add anything with the memo.
Excuse me, yeah, the entire situation, as I hear feedback, seems a little confused. And so I try to reflect on comparative things to try to use anecdotal communication as to kind of where we're at in the process. The staff nor the consultant is asking the commission to permanently make a decision about where an aquatics facility needs to be. What we are doing is just like that we do in every process we go through, is we try to whittle down the various options to the seemingly the best fit, right? Just like the bypass fire station in the 2003 to 2005 era, we looked at multiple sites. We began with a site adjacent to Lowe's. That migrated to behind Goodwill, where we actually had a site plan developed, and we investigated a way to actually access the station. Ultimately, that wasn't deemed best after we got into that evaluation. And when the owner of the property on the south side of the bypass stepped up and said, look, we'll give you this corner lot. We'll develop this road. Does this interest you? And the commission ultimately decided after some additional engineering work there that that was the best site. So what we are doing in terms of aquatics, though, is there are so many nuances in what that would look like. Size of pool, capacity of the facility, how many slides you have, the features involved. Those things add up and create cost. And so through the process of implementing the 2018 Parks Plan, we asked the consultant to look at various properties used for recreation in the community and try to decide where the majority of things, how can we deploy those properties to check the most boxes? And what the consultant said is that if you don't use the fairgrounds for an aquatic center, maybe you should marry that also to the wellness center, which is a totally like-minded enterprise as the Bunny Davis Center. Let's look at that as an option, and that gives you more opportunities at the fairgrounds to develop the multipurpose field that we don't have in our community. And so then what staff suggested was, okay, we can see reasonably and logically that will be your lowest cost, right? We tried to communicate that at the last meeting in other words. So the reason we know it's the lowest cost is because you don't have to build it as a standalone facility. You get to operate it differently. It is in the same way renovation and expansion of the water plant saves significant money than a new standalone water plant did. So remember, the estimate for a standalone water plant that was off-site was about $46 to $50 million. The renovation of that existing plant ended up construction cost being less than 25, but project cost about 28. And so it makes a lot of sense if you can reuse an existing facility and reinvest in an existing facility. So intuitively, we are suggesting that we know that the McDowell Wellness Center site, and confirmed by the consultant, that is your obvious lowest cost option. So therefore, the next step in a project development like this is developing what is called a preliminary engineering report or a pro forma. What are the operating expenses? What is your acceptable capital cost? Well, that to arrive at that conclusion, that costs significant money, probably $20,000 to $30,000. So in the same way, the fire station downtown, when we looked at those various properties, staff and the fire department went through various exercises to try to maximize the location so that we didn't have to spend that level of investment on every site, right? Some of the sites, if you'll recall, were far outside of our radius of service, so therefore they were automatically excluded, right? So as we look through this process and we take the public comments to heart, when the public has said clearly in many surveys over an 11-year period, one of which I'll remind everybody, we sent surveys home with every student in the county or our effort was to send a survey home with every student, 5th grade and under, right? And we had tremendous feedback. We had a recent survey. So what we are told by the citizens is every time we investigate it is, yes, we want a new modern aquatics facility. The total preference of where that goes is really, no one really has a prime location as the perfect spot. So therefore, location isn't the highest priority, cost is. So what the surveys we hear is that we prefer, we have a terrific pool, but it not cost everything that we have. And then compounding that then, if we can find a partnership that reduces the overall tax burden on the facility, then let's investigate that as a priority. So with those 4 things in mind, the Wellness Center is confirmed to be the most obvious choice to investigate and invest that first $20,000 in seeing what that performance looks like, seeing what those details are. Now, that's not to say that you can't go away from that. So if we go through the process, which is confirmed by the Parks Committee, when we went to the meeting, when you go through, and I wasn't there, but as Josh described to me, when you go through the work with the hospital, you're going to have to sit down and talk to them about operations. You're going to have to figure some of those things out, otherwise your pro forma isn't accurate. So you want to talk to them, you want to find out what the relationship would look like with the hospital. And then if that reaches a place where it makes sense and it continues to be the right decision, then you continue to invest more staff time in it, more of those development dollars in it. If there's a point there where it just seems like not the right thing to do, then you fall back and you go back to your fairgrounds and you reassess a standalone facility. So we are not asking, staff is not asking to make a decision. What we have asked for is just simple confirmation that we want to go ahead and investigate the Wellness Center fully and put the pro forma and the initial pro forma investment towards that direction. And if that doesn't work out, then we need to move somewhere else. But for today, and so what we've asked is just confirmation from the commission that that's the case. And I've heard all kinds of things that frankly are irrelevant at this stage. For example, the Wellness Center has limestone everywhere. We blasted 40 feet of limestone at the water plant. Limestone is part of what we have in central Kentucky. It's why we have bourbon here. So we assume there's rock on every project we do. So the fact that there's evidence of rock doesn't necessarily mean that that's a non-starter for a project. That's just something that we use and we understand as we go through the development of project cost, right? So at this time, staff is really asking for confirmation that what our recommendation is, much like it has been with the fire station, the other fire station, the water plant discussion, what we're asking for is confirmation of a direction before we invest additional staff resources, additional consultant dollars in, before we go too far with that. So tonight, Josh and previously is trying to ask for authorization to go ahead and proceed in that direction until something tells us that's not the correct direction. Understanding that options 2 and 3 are still on the table. Number 2 is go to the fairgrounds with a standalone facility, and number 3 is do nothing. Or number 4, you can even say another site, but none popped up during the master plan process of 2018. Right? So that's kind of where we're at. Questions?
Do you need a motion or just direction?
I think
or-
given the trepidation, it's worthwhile to have a motion, because aquatics, as we stated in our memo, everyone swims. So therefore, everyone has an opinion. Not everyone understands the chemistry of Lake Harrington, so not everyone understands the benefit of granular activated carbon versus some other pretreatment membrane technology for filtration. Not everyone understands that, so less people had an opinion. Everybody wants to have an opinion on aquatics because we all swim, right? And it makes sense. So it's okay, but the prevailing attitude is that we need to accomplish something with the lowest cost as we can, with the least tax burden as we can, right? And so that's purely the target that we have. Now, there's been some other discussions about sports complex. We believe putting the pool at the Wellness Center is a neighborhood, but makes it a neighborhood pool. Gives us the opportunity to develop other neighborhood aquatics features, splash pads, such as at the water plant in the south side of town, which has no resources. If we overinvest in a standalone facility in Millennium Park, I was there Saturday. When you're in Millennium Park on Saturday and there's a regional sports tournament, a majority of those people aren't from here, right? So what we'd like to do, if the opportunity exists, is let's locate the pool in a neighborhood where it's walkable, right? So that it's not sitting on your bypass empty 9 months out of the year, which is what an aquatic center does. And coincidentally, the Anderson Dean pool is closed right now. It's a standalone facility that's very difficult to operate if you only have one partner, right? So the idea of having multiple partners, including private investors in the hospital, is we increase the likelihood of that pool facility meeting expectations for a longer period of time, right? So yeah, we are asking for confirmation of the direction, and that way we can ask Josh to talk with the consulting team and reliably invest their consultant dollars in an evaluation, and rather than being pulled in different directions that frankly just cost more money, which is in conflict with what everyone in the community really boils down in every survey we've done that they say they want.
Well, I will make a motion that we direct staff to continue with the pro forma for having the pool at the Wellness Center. Does that work?
Okay. I will second so we can discuss it.
Fire away.
Okay.
Been properly moved in second, so we're in the discussion phase. So yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are we eventually going to get a workshop after the pro forma, like we've been asking for, and then we can get more specific, concrete data?
Exactly. And so what we're trying to do is mitigate the cost of developing that data by being more targeted in what we're estimating, right? We're trying not to duplicate work and spend money on the front end that we don't have to, frankly. And yes, we can have a workshop to have the very conversation we're having right now. And we can't, until you do the pro forma development, until you talk to the hospital about what is acceptable for them,
Right.
the workshop is inconclusive. We can't provide you any more evidence that we've provided before, right? Otherwise, you have to invest time and money in that before you can have that workshop. So that, all we're asking for is, yes, direction to go ahead and start.
Now, would that pro forma include some type of MOA, or would that,
I think
or
it should.
ideas?
I think it should, if you can
Okay.
develop one, because I think your pro forma needs to be permanently reliable if you're going to do that. So, yeah, we believe that the city and the hospital owning like facilities doesn't make sense. The same people in the community are paying for it, right? Whether it's through memberships at the Wellness Center or memberships and taxes, more specifically at the Bunny Davis Center, it just doesn't make sense to duplicate services. Most communities avoid that and try to seek partnerships rather than duplication of services. But here's the reality. The Bunny Davis Center has less than 150 paid memberships now. The Wellness Center has 3,500 memberships, plus or minus. That is your community center. That, I appreciate the fact as a taxpayer that the city is providing the Bunny Davis Center as a resource, but the biggest resource it provides is this pool in the summer, right? That's the biggest thing, that most unmet need in the community is that. And so, again, the Wellness Center having 3,500 members plus or minus that is your community center. And so if we want to improve service, we would challenge the hospital to improve service there, to improve their own image in the community. Some folks say, well, having the hospital involved is a negative experience. We don't disagree with that, because the majority of your interaction with the hospital is a situation where you have health concerns, right? And so so we would encourage the hospital to find a place where people in your community can participate with you in a positive way, in a healthy way, right? And so it makes a lot of sense to us to work through the process and see what it shakes out.
And I just had three other items. Well, with the 3,500 members, when we meet for a workshop, I would like some facts about the parking. I have on Mondays not been able to find a parking spot. So perhaps the hospital, or they can track hours. That would be very necessary to make sure that little addition of parking would be enough. And it could be, after 12 or that type of thing. So please include a parking study. Not as important, look at the noise disruption with Bluegrass Estates and Kendall Drive. And definitely, I brought up to a couple of the board members the geological issues. I would like some type of geological peak there versus the fairgrounds, just because I remember in the 90s sitting in a trailer with Jamie Gay with the engineers and them running into problems and big costs. And we can't build the pool deep enough, and let's do this. So, I mean, I sat there and I called Jamie to see if I remembered this correctly. And we had a lot of problems to work through. So I think the cost of, you know, the drilling through the limestone, or if it would be any better at the fairgrounds, just look at that, because I think that would be good numbers to have if it was going to cost more.
Yeah, we were going to have a geotech there to do an investigation at the fairgrounds anyway for the tennis courts and baseball field. With the
Perfect.
current plans we're putting
Perfect.
together. So the mobilization to get them on site is the big cost. So while they're there, we'll have them do some test borings at both locations, and we can just have that in our back pocket.
Okay, that's what we'll need. And even if things turn out a little differently, when you're talking to the hospital, would they be willing to, you know, partner at the fairgrounds? You know, just keep all options open.
Commissioner Cottle, you got some comments or questions?
I do not at this time. I think I will whenever the performer gets here. I'm sure they will cover most of the things, or all the things that Commissioner Holland mentioned, so I'll just wait until that time to, I do think it's a good idea to pursue it, though. We need to pursue something so we can know where we're going.
And I want to say to Mayor Paris and Commissioner Terry that they're absent tonight, but they've heard us go through this conversation when they reviewed the tape, so hopefully they'll send some comments and some questions to you as well. But the only way to move the needle on this issue is to get something done. And so I strongly support investigating this site just based on the results we've gotten back from several surveys. Okay? So with that said, we have a motion, and it's been seconded, and we've had a little discussion. If there's any other comments or questions, then I'd like to call for the question on this motion.
Okay, and one last comment. Just, I wanted to thank our city manager for explaining just how beneficial the public-private partnerships are. I'm a huge fan of that, so I definitely agree that we should explore that option, so.
And remind folks that it's the Danville-Boyle County Parks and Rec. It's not just the Danville and the hospital, it's Danville and Boyle and the hospital. And if there are other potential partners, we'd be open to that as well.
And the more money we save, the more features we can have, whether it be a year-round field or multiple splash pads on the south side of town. So more offerings serve more people. So that's usually the right way to go.
Call for the question. All those in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
I guess just as a point of information regarding future partnerships, I would remind you that our agreement to provide services for a countywide park system does incorporate a provision that says for future projects that cost estimates would be provided to the county for their decision as to whether or not they want to be included or not. They have no requirement based on our current agreement to participate. Should they participate, then it would remain a facility that's in the county-wide park system.
Yes.
However, in the event that they decline to participate financially, then it would be a wholly owned city facility.
Thank you, Mr. Dexter. Item number 15, Josh, that belongs to you as well.
Yes, in your package, you have the spring 2022 paving list. I know it's not spring anymore, but we were a little late getting our quotes back from the Allen Company. We use state price contract to get quotes for this work. The streets included are Stonehill Court, the full length of Pine Street, Belinda Boulevard. We're going to do spot repairs on Old Lexington Road and Old Lancaster Road. And then we have some paving to do at the intersection of Delahaye and Fern to help with that turning radius. I want to add to this. I got these prices late Wednesday last week, just in time to get them in the packet. I think it has the full length of Old Lancaster being paved, and looking at the the quantity there. I think we're going to try to do some spot repairs on Old Lancaster and utilize that extra tonnage to pave McGrath Street. It's the one we discussed in a previous commission meeting. I went down and looked at it today and then drove Old Lancaster, and I think we could get more bang for our buck by doing that. So I wanted to throw that out there, but we'll stay under the total price quote was $127,046.84. We'll stay within that tonnage.
My only question is how come, I mean, Commissioner Hollins knew, but her driveway's on the list, and I don't understand that. And I'm just kidding.
There's a real reason why we have you on that end of the podium,
Don't
staying
pay
by
attention to
yourself.
me.
That's right.
But I move for approval of the paving list as presented.
Second.
Probably moving second. Seeing no other questions or comments, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Josh, you're up again.
Yes. Streetscape project, at the latest meeting, we awarded the bid to Pace Contracting. Since then, we've had our pre-construction meeting. We've actually gotten our approval from KYTC for the project, and we have have gotten the contract signed by the city and Pace Contracting. So they are set to go. There's going to be a few weeks before they get started because there's some lead time issues on materials like we discussed with Marshall's projects. And they don't want to get started demoing sidewalks until they're ready to put new stuff back in. So they're looking at probably 2 or 3 weeks from now getting started. I'm supposed to get a schedule this week. And once I get that schedule, I'll get that to everybody. And when I mean everybody in the downtown area, just make sure everybody knows what the potential schedule is. So now that we're moving forward, I have 3 agreements on the agenda tonight for our utilities. Since we're burying the overhead utilities on 4th Street, we have to get agreements done with each one of those entities to get those utilities moved. Now, KU is the first item. They actually are asking for payment up front, which is not something we usually do, but with KU, we're working through this partnership. By paying this invoice, they will set aside the materials that they currently have in stock for us, so we don't run into any material issues with them. So they are asking for a full payment in the amount of $272,784, and that will cover their full amount for the project.
And you're okay with doing that?
Yes.
Okay. And once it starts, the anticipated length of the project?
The 4th Street section should be completed by May of 2023. So we'll have a 2 or 3 month period where we're putting in the conduit on 4th Street for the overhead utilities to be brought down. Then we will hand the project over to these utilities, and they will have about 4 months to take the overhead lines, put new ones in the ground, take down the overhead, take down the poles, and hand the project back over to us, which at that point we'll put sidewalks in, which will probably be spring of 23 before that happens. So the completion date is May of 2023.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Do we have a motion? Already had a motion?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2022061308.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Resolution passes. Item 17.
The next agreement is with AT&T, and their amount of the project is $167,980. They're not asking for payment at the time. This time, they just want a signed agreement that we will pay when the project is finished.
Chair will entertain a motion.
I move for approval of Resolution 2022-06-1309.
Second.
Any questions or comments? If not, we call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Item 18, Josh.
Yes, the last agreement is with Windstream, and they're asking for an agreement as well. They don't want to be paid at this time, but their agreement is in the amount of $13,308.79.
Motion?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2022061310.
Second.
Any other questions or comments to Josh? Call for the question. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Codes enforcement report. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, there's one after me tonight.
What was that?
I said there's one after me tonight.
That's good, but before you get started, though, congratulations.
Thank you.
I can officially call you Granny now. right?
Yes, I've been waiting a long time to be called that.
All right.
Enjoy.
Yes,
Yes.
we are so excited. She's
And I've seen pi-
perfect, as all grandkids are. Kevin has a new one, too.
What?
Last week?
New grandchild, yeah. Like I say, they all look like Winston Churchill when they're born.
Congratulations to you too, Kevin. You slipped that one in on us, right?
He's already had in-depth conversations with him.
Yes.
Well, yours is very special to me, and you know why, right? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, sorry about that. You can
That's okay.
Present your report. I'm sorry.
For the month of May, we issued 47 business licenses, and we had 113 inspections. And we issued 47 parking citations. We added to the current condemned properties list you have, we added 466 and 468 High Street to that as well.
Wow.
Those happened in between your report. We've been extremely busy in May and currently with special events with alcohol and EDC and all kinds of activities going on, so that's added to what we've been doing. Joni's been very busy with the Architecture Heritage Board. She has worked on the Kentucky Heritage Council's database for the National Register of Historic Places to kick off Preservation Month. She's finished up her grant reimbursements for the Heritage Council that we are currently had. And she's had several consultations with business owners, and we've completed 3 COAs this month. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Wow. Good report. Any questions or comments?
Been busy.
Been busy? Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a good
Thanks.
thing. Thank you, ma'am. Oh. Chief Gray, you gonna stand in for Miss Rebecca Hafley?
Say that again, sir?
I said, are you gonna stand in for Miss Hafley?
Yes, I'm gonna stand in because I'm not Rebecca Hafley.
All right, I recognize that.
You have in front of you a resolution, and this is allow us to go ahead and proceed with the text to 911. We've been waiting on some proposals and things like that and some equipment. And you see before you here is the quote for the equipment and the software. And hopefully we have that up and running somewhere near the beginning of fall.
Wow, that's great.
There will be some delay just because of different cell phone carriers with Bell South and things like that. As soon as we get those carriers on board, then it should be up and running.
Wow, that's neat. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Chair needs to entertain a motion to approve this.
I'll move to approve Resolution 2022061311.
Second.
Thank you all. Any questions or comments?
Once it's implemented, can someone reach out to KSD or the deaf community and also put it in our newsletter?
We've been working with KFD on
Okay.
this project.
Okay.
We will have that out there.
Okay. Great, thanks.
Call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Can the chair entertain a motion to adjourn at this time?
No, sir, we need executive session
I
for
thought y'all had gone to sleep on me. I was gonna try.
litigation, property acquisition, and personnel. Shouldn't be long.
What's that?
Shouldn't be long, but
Okay.
all 3 major categories.
They're in need of a motion for an executive session.
And all 3 of our cheat sheets are gone.
It's closest to
Let's
JH.
Let me assist you for the sake of efficiency then.
Okay.
You don't want me to do it?
If you're ready, proceed, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Staff would request an executive session pursuant to KRS 61810-1C for purposes of litigation for which discussion of which may compromise litigation posture and for pursuant to KRS 618101F to discuss personnel matters. And finally, for pursuant to KRS 61810-1B to discuss potential acquisition of real property for which the disclosure is likely to affect property value.
So moved.
No, no.
The second.
You said that's going to be short, okay? I guess the chair has declared his motion then, doesn't he? All right. All those in favor of going into executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Man. All those in favor say aye.
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 Turn the meeting over to, back in regular session, and turn it over to Mr. Kofi.
Thank you. Staff is recommending the reclassification of Miranda Collins to the position of Engineering Administrative Assistant.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations. All right.
Staff then is recommending the hiring of Tootie Welch to the position of Utility Clerk to fill Miranda's position.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair would now entertain a motion for,
I'm done.
I move we adjourn.
ooh.
Second.
Ooh, all right. All those in favor say aye, and those opposed?
Aye.
All right.
Decide what kind